Hey everyone, I'm sure that you're aware of this week that there was a pretty big story that came out regarding basically the whole CVE structure, CVE database. Essentially, MITRE, which is responsible for maintaining and cataloging all CVE vulnerabilities. There was an announcement that there was funding that was going to be cut and later expiring as of April 16th for the CVE program. Now, if you're not like a technically sound person or if you don't really care about CVs, that's fine. But for someone who is in tech or is in the cybersecurity space, CVEs are like kind of like the Bible of like security. Like for example, like when there's a product and it has a vulnerability, you're able to index and look up that product, via a CVE number. As well, dealing with various I guess you can call them like more blue team and cyber defense, right? If you have, like intrusion prevention slash detection systems or even endpoint protection systems, those kind of things too can have basically sort of like signatures that can pick up on mainly what they use as the IDs as IDs as a CVs. So this story coming out was, quite a big deal, and I was honestly quite shocked when this happened because, through all my schooling and through my job over the last year and a half, 2 years, CVEs are a big part of what I do every day. And this letter was released right here, just basically saying, they're basically running out of money and, there's basically nothing we can do. And basically, they were going to stop updating CVEs. Another thing, too, is that, if this would happen, it would basically kind of shut down and, kind of put to a halt, like all of the concurrency that we have like all across the world because this is like a globally used thing. It's not just the United States that has this. Everybody uses this, and it's basically how people can sync up and be on the same page when there's a vulnerability in a product that exists. Now, thankfully, it felt like I was clickbaited a little bit because the following day, I came to find out the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, also known as CISA, they're actually extending funding to ensure that CVE services are staying online. And I was quite relieved at that because CVEs are a pretty big thing I do, and it's a thing I keep up with honestly every day. I try to read the new CVEs and stuff that come out, but thankfully CISA is extending the MITRE's funding so they can make sure they keep the CVE database in place. Like that's a huge win. I mean, it's not going to be they're not extending it for forever. It's 11-month extension, but hey, that's great. It'll be enough time so that maybe they can come up with a plan and plan for the future. But essentially, if you didn't have any CVE database or any structure or way to do it, the tech world, especially the cybersecurity world, would be all over the place. People would be reporting vulnerabilities, and there'd be no continuity. It'd be complete chaos. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about today. Was just I couldn't believe when I saw that news, but thankfully, we have resolution and everything will be okay. That's all I have for today. And I hope you guys enjoy the video. Peace.